think there's a report out there that Hugh Jackson sometimes does all this on his own. That's so far from the truth, it's not even funny. Mark Davis is the person that spearheads this whole thing. We have such a great team of people right now that we work through, headed up by Mark, then Amy, then myself, and then Mark Badane, Tom Delaney, and Dan Ventrelli. Those guys, they've been amazing over the last several hours as we were able to put together what I think is probably the greatest trade in football, in my opinion. Obviously, I think everybody knows that we needed to go out and address our quarterback situation. I told you guys the other day that I was going to continue to search, look, do everything I could to help this football team to become all it can be. That's my job as the head coach and the leader of this team. So what I set out to do was find the person that I would feel comfortable with coming in here, helping me lead this football team as we continue to move forward and give us the best opportunity to win. And I was very lucky to kind of reach back in my past and grab somebody that I'm very familiar with, being Carson. But in order to do that, it took a lot of teamwork. It took a lot of cooperation from the Bengals. It took a lot of teamwork here within this Raiders organization to get it done. And again, I want to thank Mark Davis for all he's done. Obviously, there's been so many firsts for us, you know, since losing Coach Davis. You know, you go to the first game in Houston. We were able to get that done and did a tremendous job with our football team and won a game. To our first game here at home last week, you know, after losing Coach and winning that game in front of our fans, to, you know, laying Coach to rest yesterday, and then have an opportunity to come in here and get the second player that we've acquired since he's been gone. You know, Aaron Curry was the first, and now Carson Palmer. And obviously this one, you know, people will say is a little bit more significant than getting Aaron Curry because it's a quarterback. There's no question and no doubt about that. But any player we put on this football team, in my opinion, is going to be someone that can help us attain our goal, which is winning a championship. And that's all I'm interested in. I'm interested in winning. I told the team, I told the organization, my job, as I told you, is to do everything I can to make sure that we're able to do that. And I think that's what we've done today. So we're going to obviously talk to Carson a little bit, but this is about our future, where we're headed, where we're trying to go. And whatever questions you guys have, let them rip.
Guys, please raise your hand, be acknowledged, and state your name and affiliation, please.
So Vic Tafer from the Chronicle. Will Carson start on Sunday?
Say that again?
Will Carson start on Sunday?
You think I'm going to tell you that right now? You know me a little bit better than that.
Yeah, try.
Okay. You do try. All you guys try. I'm not going to let that out of the bag just yet. But you got to be ready for anything from me. I think you know that. We'll see as we continue to move through the week exactly where we are.
Go ahead, Rick.
Rick Tittle, 95.7 The Game. Carson, some fans may be a little bit worried that because of the acrimony you had in Cincinnati and saying you were willing to retire, how much of your heart is still in this? And then when you see the Raiders pay a high price, do you feel sort of a responsibility to let them know that they made the right decision?
A tremendous burden. You know, I was telling somebody just a little while ago, I went to bed last night at 10:30, a retired football player, and got a text message at 4 a.m. and was told to get on a plane to Oakland. So it's been a whirlwind, and I understand what's expected of me. I've played in this league for 8 years. I know what it's about. I know what playing quarterback's about in this league, and it's about winning. And I want to come in and contribute and do everything I can to, whatever I can to help this team.
Henry Wolford with Comcast Sportsnet Bay Area. Congratulations, Carson. Question for you and Coach. How do you get your mindset back to playing football when you were convinced you were ready to retire? And, Coach, did you hesitate at all with the price tag? How long did you have to think? And would this have been a move prior to Jason Campbell being injured?
I'll let you answer first.
My mind has been in football. It's been a difficult 6 weeks. You know, football is what I know. It's all I know. It's what I've been doing since I was probably 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. And I've followed the game. I've worked out. I've continued to stay focused on football and keep my mind in football. So I haven't been away from the game. I haven't been playing it for 6 weeks, comparatively speaking to guys that have been on teams. But my mind's been in it.
I think you brought up a good point. Obviously, first of all, I'd like to take us back to Jason. Obviously, Jason was the starting quarterback on his football team and did a fantastic job. And very unfortunate that he got hurt, and had surgery yesterday, and he's resting comfortably. And we're going to miss him, because Jason did so many good things here, not just on his football team, but also in the community. And then you think of Cal Bowler and what he did just this past week of helping his team get a win. And that's what they are. Those guys are pros. And I'm really glad to have had the opportunity to, work with Jason, watch what Jason did and how he led this team. And we're going to miss him. And we wish him a very speedy recovery. And I hope he gets back in the building soon. Obviously, Cal's got to go to work tomorrow. He got some work to do. But as far as the draft picks, what we had to give up to get this young man, I never hesitated because, again, I know exactly what I'm getting. When you go back, I think you guys know my history with Carson. Obviously, I recruited and coached Carson in college and was with him in Cincinnati at the Bengals, so I have a long-standing history with him. And I know what we're putting on this football team. I went to Mark and Amy and said, hey, look, this is the person that I think that we need to add in order to get to where I want to take this organization. Being that Jason is not here, obviously you said, would this have happened as Jason had been here? Probably not. No question. We were moving at a pretty good pace. We're a 4-2 football team, and we're getting better. But, like I said, it was unfortunate that happened, but then you have to respond. And, again, I go back to the commitment from the organization, the commitment from Mark, the commitment to our players, that my job is to do everything I can to make sure I'm putting us in the best situation to win. And that's what I'm always going to do.
Paul Gutierrez from CSNCalifornia.com. Carson, what exactly have you been doing the past 6 weeks, and when did Hugh recruit you harder? Coming out of high school or to come here?
If you know Hugh or you've been recruited by Hugh, you don't get recruited any harder than by this guy. For the past 6 weeks, I thought I was retired. Before the start of the season, I was training like it was a normal off season for myself and going about my business like I normally would in the off season. And then week 1 hit, and I thought, I got to look elsewhere. I got to start to find what the next phase of my life may be. And like I said, I got a text late last night and then early this morning saying that this might happen. You need to get on a plane, and I'm ready to go. I'm excited. I'm honored. I know this. I don't know a lot about this organization, but I know that it's dedicated to winning. I know the history. I know where this organization has been and where it wants to get back to, and I'm excited to be a part of that.
Josh Giroux from Associated Press. What makes you think that Carson is still the player you had in Cincinnati as opposed to the guy who wasn't quite that good the last few years?
What was the last part? What did you just say? I didn't hear that.
His numbers weren't as good the last few years.
This is not about numbers. This is about the person, because I know his heart. I know his passion. I know his dedication to the game. I know, I think sometimes, as I told you guys before, the quarterbacks get too much blame, and sometimes they get too much credit. I'm not concerned about Carson's past. I never would be. Never. That doesn't even hit my mind, because I know with me and him and the rest of the staff and this football team where we're going to go. And that's the most important thing. What's gone on for Carson in Cincinnati and me is over. The future's now. The time is now, and that's what I'm worried about.
Coach Jackson.
Identify yourself, please.
Hazik Medyun, Cron 4 News. If you will, could you just share with us what Mr. Davis may have shared with you about Carson Palmer as a quarterback?
One thing I know about Coach, he loved tall, athletic quarterbacks from USC. That's for sure. And one thing, he loves guys that can throw the ball down the field, and this man can. So I think he's been very excited, very happy. The thing I got excited about, because his son's very excited and very happy. So that told me what Coach might have felt too. Mark is very excited about us adding Carson to this football team.
Lowell Cohn, Santa Rosa Press Democrat. Carson, you've had a reputation for being a long thrower, and they like to play vertical ball here. In the recent past, my impression is you had some arm problems, and you were not throwing the deep ball as much. Has that come back to you?
Yes, it has. That's my job to prove that I can do it, and I'll do it.
And it came back just by healing or also by the workouts you were doing?
You know, I had an elbow injury in 2008, and I'm fully recovered. I've been rehabbing I probably rehabbed for almost a year and a half, 2 years after that, and been throwing, and my arm feels as good as it ever has, and I'm very confident in it, and it's my job to answer that question, and the only way I can do that is on the field and throwing it.
Yeah. Carson, Colleen Dominguez, ESPN. Given that you just said up until last night you thought you were retired, what is your level physically? How ready are you to take the field and play?
Well, it's going to take some time. I mean, I think the only way you can get in football shape is by playing football. You can run wind sprints and lift weights and do all those things, but calling a play in the huddle when you're tired after you just ran, you get the wind knocked out of you, getting up off the ground and being ready to talk in the huddle, things like that, catching your breath. That's football shape, and the only way you do that is in practice and in games. So obviously I'm not there yet, but I'll lift until I'm 75 years old, or until a doctor tells me not to. I'll stay in shape my whole life. I enjoy working out. So although my mindset was, you know, this might be it, I might be retired, I still was working out and doing a lot of things I've been doing my whole career.
Carson, Jason Jones, Sacramento Bee. What about your situation in Cincinnati made you say, I'll retire rather than go back?
You know, it was time to move on. You know, simply put, it was time for them to move on. It was time for me to move on, and I'm just happy and thankful that the Bengals organization made that decision also, and ended up getting this trade done.
Levi Damien, thoughts from the dark side. Hugh, a question for you. Up to this point, Mike Brown of the Bengals, it seemed like he was set. He wasn't going to trade Carson Palmer, and yet you give him a call, and now Carson is here. How did that happen? Did that have anything to do with your relationship with him?
Probably so. I'm sure. I have so much respect for Mike, having worked there with him, been in drafts with him, you know, coached some of his best players, in my opinion, in that organization. And I think he has a respect for this organization and Coach Davis. I think the respect was mutual. And he said so. He said, Hugh, you know, I like you, and I want to see you do well, and I want to see Carson do well, and I want us to do well, being the Bengals. So I think at the end of the day, I think it was a fit for everybody, and I think it worked out in everybody's behalf.
Yeah. Mark Purdy from the Mercury News in San Jose. Carson, there's a couple things. One is, you say you stay in shape. How many footballs have you been throwing? How many passes have you been throwing? And number two, how much football have you been watching? Did you watch any Raiders games while you were around? What games have you been watching, and what have you been doing?
To answer the first question, not enough footballs. I mean, it's tough to round up guys that are NFL caliber guys to throw to. That's obviously difficult to replicate. I have been throwing with a guy that Coach used to coach, and TJ Hushmanzada. He and I have been training together. But it's hard to simulate 7-on-7 drills and obviously 11-on-11 drills. So that's been difficult, but I've been throwing the football my whole life. I'm confident that I'll get it back quick. It's like riding a bike. The second question was,
how much football have you been watching? Did you watch any Raiders games? What games have you been watching?
I've been watching them all. I've watched their 4 games, our 4 games. Obviously on DirecTV, it's tough to get what I need to get from the game. You know, watching a TV cut is much different than watching a coach's cut. But I've already been given a computer full of stuff to watch, and I'll dig into that as soon as we're out of here.
Tim Kawakami, Mercury News. Also, Hugh, given what you've traded for Carson, which obviously pretty high price. Does this team have to win a Super Bowl in this time to justify what you gave up?
I think this team is poised to win whatever we need to win. I said that before. We're not putting people on the team just to put them on there. We're chasing a championship. And I'm not going to tell you I'm going to be disappointed if we don't. But I'd probably be mad if we didn't. But I'm very excited about the future of this football team and where it has a chance to go. And obviously Carson's a huge piece of that. And the players that are already here are a huge piece of that. And the players that will continue to come here will be a huge piece of that. I just think we're building, and I think we're heading in the right direction, and I think we're going to get there.